faithfully delivering value and exploring great books from around the world. Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'm going to interpret the book The Birth of the Magic Pill for you. The magic pill in the title refers to the birth control pill, born in 1960. Oh, it's been said that the birth control pill is humanity's biggest leap forward since Adam and Eve were cast out. Before the pill, countless women were trapped in an endless cycle of childbirth, spending their whole lives having and raising kids. The pill burst onto the scene like a magic pill, freeing women from the burden of childbearing, letting them control their bodies and time just like men, so they could enjoy intimacy while chasing careers and education. Well, this is my way. Take the US, for example. Within a decade of the pill's debut, American women's average number of children dropped from 3.6 to 2. Another 10 years later, women entering law schools and business schools increased by 200% and 600% respectively. In 1970, 80% of U.S. women stayed home caring for kids. Only 20% worked outside. Now those numbers are flipped, and in other countries, this tiny pill is reshaping marriage and society. The author, Jonathan Eig, is a well-known best-selling writer who was once a senior reporter at the Wall Street Journal. In The Birth of the Magic Pill, Eig takes us through the whole journey of how the pill came to be. This story features a birth control pioneer, a widow from a powerful family, an underappreciated scientist, and a doctor who defied the church. These four formed a golden alliance by chance, braving legal risks to create this world-changing pill. Before we dive into the pill's story, let me set the scene with its social background. The pill was born in mid-20th century America. Before that, contraception was banned by religion and law for a long time. Catholicism taught that sex was solely for procreation and only God decided which children were born. Artificially preventing birth was seen as the work of Satan. In 1873, the U.S. passed strict anti-obscenity laws, outlawing the sale of contraceptives and contraceptive education. But as we entered the 20th century, attitudes toward contraception gradually shifted across American society. First, people became more open-minded about sex. In 1900, Austrian psychoanalysis master Freud published The Interpretation of Dreams, stating that sexual desire is a normal human impulse that should be fulfilled. And these ideas quickly spread to American society and gained acceptance, though people feared unintended pregnancy. Meanwhile, the feminist movement encouraged women to take control of their bodies and freely enjoy life. They could experience love and decide for themselves when to marry and have children. Second, economic and technological advances boosted birth rates, causing rapid U.S. population growth and social problems. And kids from large families were forced to drop out and work. Some became street vagrants, others juvenile delinquents. Thousands with syphilis kept reproducing, bringing babies with congenital diseases into the world. So despite resistance from churches, Congress, and state legislatures, calls for population control grew louder, and laws eased to allow contraceptives under specific conditions. Thus, couples with STDs could get condom prescriptions from doctors. As prescription items, doctors also advised the rhythm method, but this failed ordinary folks, especially women. Some had 11 kids by 30, completely drained. But condoms required prescriptions and were controlled by men who often wanted more kids while ignoring women's suffering from constant childbirth. Women's only self-controlled options were diaphragms, temporary inserts, IUDs, or douching. But these were often illegal. Diaphragms had to be bought on black markets. Worse, they were ineffective. Douching failed 90% of the time, and without antibiotics, often caused uterine, ovarian, or fallopian tube infections, even death and poverty. Most women couldn't afford contraceptives anyway, leaving abortion as their only option. They swallowed gunpowder and poison, stuffed hemp ropes inside themselves, inserted knitting needles or shoe hooks into their uteruses, hit their bellies with broken bricks, even threw themselves downstairs. In short, they'd rather break the law or die than get pregnant. Some women even deliberately married men rumored to be sterile. Against this backdrop, our first protagonist, Margaret Sanger, had an idea. Could they find a cheap, easy, foolproof contraceptive? Ideally, a pill that women could take each morning with orange juice, without their partner's consent, preserving fertility. This was the original conception of the birth control pill. Sanger was a pioneer of America's birth control movement, born in 1879 to a poor family in New York who'd worked as a nurse. Her mother had 18 pregnancies in 22 years of marriage, delivering 11 living babies, dying at just 50 from physical exhaustion. This trauma made Sanger realize that without reproductive autonomy, women could never achieve true freedom and equality. While nursing, Sanger witnessed another tragedy. She treated a female patient weakened by multiple pregnancies. The doctor warned that another pregnancy could kill her, but offered no contraceptive guidance.
The only advice was to avoid her husband and sleep on the roof.
But the woman got pregnant again anyway and died from an abortion. It was this woman's death that made Sanger resolve to fight for contraceptive rights. She wrote, "I will attack publicly, shout from rooftops, tell the world what's happening." In 1914, Sanger founded a magazine called The Woman Rebel, teaching contraception. Federal postal inspectors charged her with violating obscenity laws, deeming it pornographic. Conviction meant 40 years imprisonment. At 34, married with 3 kids, she fled alone to Europe. 2 years later, she returned and openly founded America's first birth control clinic, providing contraceptives. This was unprecedented in U.S. history. Police raided the clinic within 10 days. Sanger served 33 days in jail for distributing contraceptives illegally, but she persisted and founded the American Birth Control League in 1921.
Catholic attacks came wave after wave.
The doctrinal opposition violated natural laws of life. Sanger retorted, "The Pope trims his beard against nature too." Critics accused her of encouraging promiscuity.
She countered, "Auto tycoon Ford's no different. His backseats give couples new places to fool around."
Despite resistance, societal attitudes shifted, and Sanger gained supporters, including doctors volunteering for her cause. Among supporters, one woman proved crucial: Catherine McCormick, a wealthy heiress, and our second protagonist, whose fortune would fund the pill's development. 4 years older than Sanger, Catherine was MIT's first female science graduate and a suffragist. After marrying into wealth and inheriting her husband's estate, Catherine's marriage proved unhappy. Her husband developed schizophrenia shortly after marriage, leading Catherine to vow childlessness, fearing heredity. Family tragedy drove her to contraception advocacy. Without it, families with hereditary diseases had no choice but to bear afflicted children. From 1921, Catherine funded Sanger's magazine and clinics, even smuggling contraceptives from Europe. In 1923, she traveled to Europe under fashion-buying pretenses, secretly purchasing 1,000 diaphragms. She had local tailors sew them into new dresses, filling 8 trunks while generously tipping officials. Customs cleared these diaphragms to Sanger, who distributed them secretly to women.
Both Sanger and Catherine dreamed of a pill revolutionizing birth control technology.
But scientists warned Sanger. Developing such a pill was impossible, technically challenging, and socially stigmatized. With federal laws still opposing birth control, even solving technical hurdles wouldn't convince pharmaceutical companies to produce it. In the winter of 1950, 71-year-old Sanger, now frail and elderly, finally found a biologist willing to give it a try. This biologist was the key figure in developing the birth control pill, and the third protagonist of our story, Gregory Pincus. Pincus was 47 at the time, exceptionally intelligent but with a poor reputation, dubbed Frankenstein by the media, the mad scientist. Pincus had taught at Harvard University and achieved the world's first in vitro fertilization of rabbit eggs. And the technology he used back then was essentially the in vitro fertilization technique, realized decades later, also known as test tube babies. Pincus boasted to reporters that a new era in human reproduction was dawning, where men and women could control the process of procreation through modern methods. As soon as he said that, big trouble ensued. Pincus was immediately portrayed as a dangerous figure, and Harvard University fired him. Pincus searched everywhere for a job, even seeking help from Einstein, but no academic institution would hire him. The Pincus family became so poor at one point that they had to live in a public insane asylum. Finally, he founded his own research institute, conducting experiments in a garage with cobbled-together funds. When Sanger approached him, it was exactly when Pincus was most strapped for cash. Pincus requested $125,000 to develop the pill, equivalent to $1.08 today, and the wealthy heiress Catherine agreed. Pincus couldn't refuse the check from Sanger and Catherine, and developing the birth control pill seemed tailor-made for him. It was in the field of mammalian reproduction, which he knew best. The bat is Lightman. In the field of reproduction, he quickly conceived the design principle for the pill, using hormones to suppress ovulation. After a woman becomes pregnant, her body produces large amounts of a hormone called progesterone. It regulates the state of the endometrium. When an egg is fertilized, progesterone causes the ovaries to stop ovulating, protecting the fertilized egg and allowing it to grow safely. Essentially, the body's built-in contraceptive mechanism. And Pincus wondered if a drug could be given to women to ingest progesterone, stopping ovulation temporarily, and in the next menstrual cycle, the ovaries would resume ovulation without affecting fertility. Kun, and by 1952, about 2 years into developing the pill, Pincus had proven in rabbits and mice that oral progesterone indeed suppressed ovulation, with an effectiveness rate as high as 90%. Actually, the technology wasn't that hard. The real challenge was conducting large-scale human trials, but the pill trials had to be done in secret. Otherwise, organizers could face heavy fines or even jail time. Plus, if testing ordinary drugs for diseases, patients might try them hoping for a cure. But for the birth control pill, volunteers had to be healthy young women. What if taking it made them sick? What if they became permanently infertile? Or what if they gave birth to babies with deformities?
At this point, Pincus needed help. An OB/GYN doctor, since only a doctor could convince women the trials were safe.
He found John Rock, the fourth protagonist in our story. Rock, a Harvard grad, was one of America's top fertility experts, helping many infertile women conceive, respected by peers and patients alike. Crucially, he was a Catholic who supported birth control. Rock believed maternal health mattered more than the embryos. If pregnancy threatened a woman's life, it should be terminated immediately. They sympathized with women suffering from constant childbirth. Many just wanted hysterectomies after delivery to prevent future pregnancies. At his clinic, he taught the rhythm method and even performed human in vitro fertilization experiments with Pincus's former assistant. In 1953, Pincus and Rock began human trials for the pill, but problems quickly piled up. The biggest was the small sample size, especially compared to massive polio vaccine trials. The polio trials involved 600,000 children, but in the pill's first year, Rock and Pincus only recruited 60 women, mostly Rock's patients, unaware they were testing a contraceptive. In fact, they thought it might boost pregnancy chances. Withholding the trial's purpose wasn't illegal then. But even so, half of those 60 dropped out midway, mainly because the process was so tedious. Daily temperature checks, vaginal smears, urine tests every other day, etc. On top of that, women suffered side effects like nausea, vomiting, and breast pain, so only about 30 completed the trial. Far too small a sample. Pincus and Rock also tested on psychiatric patients, legal at the time, but mental illnesses disrupted menstrual cycles, making it impossible to track ovulation effects, forcing the asylum trials to be abandoned. Finally, Pincus found an ideal testing ground. Puerto Rico, a small Caribbean island, was poor and overcrowded, with a birth rate 34% higher than the U.S. Women under 55 averaged 6.8 children. Poor women especially craved contraception, knowing large families trapped them in poverty forever. One local woman said, maybe long ago women felt ashamed for not bearing children, but now women would rather die than have more babies. Many demanded sterilization right after childbirth before leaving hospitals. Plus, Puerto Rico had a huge advantage. Contraception was legal there. So in 1954, pill trials launched in Puerto Rico, with Pincus selecting a test group of 100 women and a control group of 125. Initially, trials faced resistance. Pincus hadn't notified health authorities. Journalists sensationalized reports, and the Catholic Church urged women to boycott. The original 100 test subjects kept quitting. Only 20 remained. Overwhelming controversy nearly halted the trials, but a twist emerged. Women who quit soon got pregnant. Their visible bellies became walking ads for the contraceptive trial. Pregnancy terrified them, making dropouts regret quitting. This proved pregnancy could resume immediately after stopping the drug. The drug was safe, and the church's campaign backfired spectacularly. Few knew about the pill until Sunday sermons denounced forbidden drugs. By Monday, women flooded Pincus asking how to get this mysterious substance. Volunteers began pouring in. By late 1956, 221 women had joined trials, but new troubles emerged. Nearly half of the 221 women in the first trial experienced side effects like dizziness, nausea, and vomiting.
Pincus suspected these symptoms might be psychosomatic.
So he designed an experiment. Group 1 got the actual pill and was warned about potential side effects. Group 2 also received warnings but got placebos with no active ingredients. Group 3 took the real pill without any side effect warnings. Side effects were reported by 23% in Group 1 and 17% in Group 2, but only 6% of Group 3, unwarned, reported issues. This proved some side effects were imagined, products of expectation and fear. It boosted his confidence, but this violated modern research ethics. No disclosure of purpose or risks. Such breaches were only possible in that era's unregulated clinical landscape. Encouraged, Pincus launched second and third trials, tweaking doses and compounds to reduce side effects with improving results. An assistant documented one participant, just 34 but already mother to 10 children. She was utterly drained, looking as old as her grandmother. After a year on the pill, she transformed into an energetic woman.
Many feared hormones might alter baby genders, harm fetal health, or cause deformities.
But when subjects stopped taking it, they delivered healthy babies with normal gender ratios. Thus, after endless obstacles, the birth control pill was finally born, a collaborative triumph. Sanger's vision, Catherine's funding, Pincus's science, and Rock's clinical work, but development was just step one. The harder task remained, convincing pharmaceutical companies to mass produce and market it. Next, we'll explore how the pill achieved commercialization and societal acceptance. Pincus solved the pharmaceutical challenge. After Harvard fired him, a drug maker called Searle had funded Pincus. Its boss, Jack Searle, was an entrepreneur with an adventurous spirit. He was passionate about developing new drugs, believing conventional products couldn't drive profits. He knew one breakthrough product could transform a company's destiny. And his daughter Sue inherited her father's confidence and boldness. When Pincus developed the pill, Sue eagerly joined trials, becoming one of America's first women to try it. Sue's experience convinced her father. Jack Searle visited Puerto Rico with Pincus and Rock, witnessing how the pill transformed women's lives. Plus, Catherine covered nearly all R&D costs. Searle needed no investment. It was a sweet deal. So Jack Searle bet his company's reputation and resources on history's boldest, most controversial drug. They trademarked a name, Anovid, the pill's official title. One final hurdle remained, FDA approval, the toughest challenge. laws in 30 states and federally opposed birth control. Even if produced, no doctor would prescribe it. Cyril devised a two-step plan. First, submit Enovid not as contraceptive but as infertility treatment. You might wonder, isn't that the opposite effect? During trials, Dr. Rock discovered progesterone gave infertile women's uteruses a reset, actually boosting pregnancy chances after stopping. A rebound effect. Gynecologists dubbed it the Rock rebound. Cyril seized this, marketing Enovid as infertile women's miracle while avoiding contraception mentions, blocking regulatory rejection. On June 10, 1957, the FDA approved Enovid for infertility and menstrual disorders. Of course, each bottle's label carried a warning, may inhibit ovulation, but that was Enovid's real purpose. Customers winked at this. Women nationwide flocked to clinics, lining up for Enovid. By hiding the pill's true function, Cyril completed step 1, getting it to market. Next came step 2, getting Enovid approved as a legitimate prescription contraceptive. Meanwhile, state bans on contraception were repealed or ignored. Most Americans supported birth control. Some even urged government-backed guidance. But the pill faced unprecedented challenge. It wasn't curing disease, but altering healthy bodies with unknown long-term effects after 20-plus years of use. In 1959, Cyril's application landed with a 34-year-old FDA examiner. His name was Dr. DeFelius, who believed safety was paramount. After 2 months of review, he raised sharp questions. Trials only lasted a year. How do we know 2 years is safe? Could long-term use trigger early menopause? Ominous possibility. DeFelius nailed the core issue. Unlike curative drugs, this altered natural physiology, demanding unprecedented safety standards.
Delays left Sanger, Catherine Pincus, and Rock frantic, especially with Catholic John F. Kennedy entering the White House.
The church opposed contraception. The FDA might tighten rules. Rejection now could doom the pill forever. Dr. Rock personally argued with DeFelius, but he remained unmoved, demanding more data. So he did something incredibly rare for FDA examiners, launched his own investigation. He knew Enovid had been on the market for 2 years, with hundreds of thousands taking it as contraceptive. Thousands of doctors nationwide were increasingly familiar with Enovid. If physicians were diligent, they'd have gathered substantial data. If the drug caused widespread side effects or harm, doctors would know. The police surveyed 61 top OBGYNs at elite medical schools with detailed questionnaires. Doctors reported side effects, nausea, edema, menopausal symptoms, even cases of labial adhesions, and clitoral hypertrophy in babies born after pill use. But they stressed these issues paled compared to physical or psychological trauma from unwanted pregnancies. For some women, even long-term cancer risks were preferable to pregnancy or abortion dangers. The pill wasn't perfect, but its contraceptive efficacy was astounding. Overall, doctors deemed benefits outweighed risks and recommended FDA approval. On April 7, 1960, Enovid finally gained approval. Marketed as contraceptive but limited to 2-year use to monitor long-term effects. At last, the birth control pill officially entered the world.
80-year-old Sanger lived to see her life's dream realized, severing sex from procreation, granting women unprecedented freedom.
At her funeral, Martin Luther King Jr. eulogized. She endured ridicule until revealing her truth to all. Catherine was now 84. She funded new MIT dormitories for women, supporting female students in a male-dominated campus. Pincus spent his remaining years refining the pill and promoting it globally. He earned minimal profit from his invention, but cared little. His legacy was secure. Dr. Rock spearheaded a massive birth control campaign. He believed someday, the next after that, Pope would embrace historical trends and endorse birth control. In 1967, Time magazine featured the pill on its cover, declaring it transformed American sex and family life and would change the world. Today, the pill is among Earth's most prescribed drugs, with over 100 million women worldwide taking it first each morning, savoring the love, opportunities, and freedom from this tiny magic pill. All right, that concludes our journey through the birth of the magic pill. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.